I would like all of you to really consider tonight, in as serious a ways as you're able to, what would it mean to be the one? What would it be to be the one who's going to be responsible for creating self-structures that don't yet exist? And what would it mean to bear the implications of that in the most personal, in the most intimately personal way?
I find it very strange sitting here, a group of women, and asking a man questions.
It's inherently a weird situation, but the point is, since you decided to come here, we don't have to talk about it.
No.
Take
Well,
responsibility for your own choices. We're all already here, so.
And I'm wondering.
It's a lot weirder for me than it is for you.
I bet it is.
What?
I said, I bet it is.
Look, it took some guts for me to, I mean, you know.
I bet it did.
I'm not asking anybody to feel sorry, but it took a little courage to come and do this.
My question is, in this context, do you feel that it would be similar answers to how you are answering as opposed to a woman spiritual teacher?
Well, if they had the same perspective, then yeah,
right.
Of course it would be.
Okay, give an example of that.
What do you mean?
Of a perspective that would be the same.
You know, at the risk of being wrong, I think that too often women teachers in general, in a situation like this, may make too big a deal out of the fact that they're women, that we're in something together, kind of thing. And so it gives a significance to the relative nature of the self that inherently distorts the picture. And I think that I'm trying, and what I'm trying to do, what I believe I am doing, you know, I don't know whether I'm doing it perfectly or not, is another question, but the place I'm coming from doesn't really privilege, you know, men or women. There's a what I believe is a deeply human orientation to all this that doesn't really privilege any particular gender or glorify it. And so it's the fact that I'm not glorifying, you know, in this case, you know, what it means to be a woman or what it means to be a man, you know, either because you're inherently superior or because you share something because you've been, you know, a second-class citizen for God knows how long or whatever. It creates this kind of, you know, we're in something together that I think is really the wrong direction to go in. So if a woman shared a perspective that was similar to that, then I'm sure she would be, you know, giving a similar message.
Thank you.
But that's the problem. If, you know, the guys get together, they're in a thing together. You know, the girls get together, they're in a thing together. So that's fine for what it is, but if you want to go deeper, you have to really transcend that kind of false duality. So the only reason why I would have the audacity to be able to sit in front of all of you is because I think I can pull this off, for the very reason that I just described. And it would have to be true because I'm not a woman, so how could I possibly teach women? Since I'm not a woman, I don't have any experience of being a woman, at least that I remember.
It's taken me much, much further than I expected to be and challenged me more than I actually thought it would.
I don't think anyone really expected things to happen quite the way they did. And it just was right out of the box.
Women really haven't been you know, the creators of history in the way men have up until very recently, and that's just the way it has been. Nobody's being blamed for it. It's not men's fault.
I think the biggest issue for women is that they have to decide themselves to, you know, I am capable of taking care of myself. I don't need anybody to come and rescue me.
I worked for 10 years in an ego-busting milieu with men and women, and I coached both of them, and I was in training myself, and I was terrified through all of it.
What do we need to do in order to get there?
For women to develop at this particular point in history, and this is a kind of it's not a politically correct thing to say, but women have to stop insisting on the fact that we're already equal.
Some of the things he says about women, I'm like, oh, how does he know about this? How does he know about that, you know?
Men and women are different. And there's a lot of reasons why men have had and have certain advantages in relationship to evolution and development. There's a lot of very good historical reasons why. But I think the postmodern woman who really wants to develop has to stop justifying herself. And I know that's not a politically correct thing to say, but it's got to happen so she can really become the individual that she really thinks she wants to be, instead of saying, well, I already am that. You just don't see it.
For a man to address 160 women in such a completely honest way was an incredible experience on so many different levels.
To be able to examine things I had never even really considered before, or had considered on a very superficial level.
Letting go of all these conditioned responses and things that are holding us back.
So from an evolutionary perspective, there's a creative process, and if we're interested in conscious evolution, then we want to consciously create a new expression of what it would mean to be a man or what it would mean to be a woman. And what is that? What does that look like? One of the gifts of the teaching of evolutionary enlightenment is that it really compels the serious individual to see their own personal experience as an expression of history in the making.
It's not about you getting a better life, you know, it's a whole shift in thinking and in focus.
To see every aspect of our own personal experience, we need to see it as part of this whole process.
It's about evolution of the whole cosmos.
Not as just this personal experience that's happening in some kind of isolated sphere.
The thing for me is the development, the evolutionary development of my consciousness.
It's not even about world peace, which is desirable.
But we're really part of something very vast and enormous that's happening.
To think about everything coming from the very origins of the universe.
It's another step in the evolution of consciousness.
From light, energy, matter, life, consciousness, self-reflective consciousness, like what's next?
We can create new structures in how consciousness and how human beings can be together and really take responsibility for the development of consciousness and how we can create a complete new future.
This teaching is focused on pushing the edge. So creating the edge, co-creating the edge, and then pushing it.